So I think you know what we're working on today. Alternator. So the alternator on the daily took a dump. So let's do another how-to video on replacing an alternator. Now this truck should be easy, but I'm not in my 20s anymore. So I'm not looking forward to doing this. I almost said a curse word. Well, it's not showing up right now, but the battery's not charging. The battery light turned on. So if you take your voltmeter, right now I'm barely at like 12 volts because the battery hasn't been charging when I was driving it around when it first happened. But so between testing it with a voltmeter and the battery light just turning on, the battery light and the brake light, it's your alternator. And so I'm going to hopefully replace it, and it's very simple if it's below the car like it says. Now the trick when doing this, Costco dog bed is a back saver, a life saver. So get a Costco dog bed, and it's way better than any creeper. Even when I was 180 pounds, creepers still hurt your back. You can't be all there all day. Costco dog bed, and your back and your body will save you. When dealing with any electronics, go ahead and disconnect the negative. And notice when you do an alternator, keep an eye on your battery, because sometimes the battery just gets so drained out and stressed out, you'll probably need a battery next. But this is a good Optima red top. I've kind of had it for a while actually, so we'll see what happens. Now my mentor used to always make fun of me. Do you have infrared? Because if you do, you don't need a light. If you don't, you need a light. So here's a power steering pump. Here's the AC compressor. That means right down there, you can't really see it. We'll go underneath. Should be our alternator. Yeah, you can't see it. It's way down there. That's a compressor still. So let's go look underneath. And voila, there's our alternator. Don't mind the oil pressure leak or oil sensor leak or whatever the hell. Right there, there's a front main seal leak, but that'll be all done when I hire someone to do the timing belt, because I'm not doing that. Okay, so we need to get the tensioner loosened. That's this guy right here. We're gonna get the tensioner loosened and get this belt slid off. We don't need to take off the belt entirely, just slid off enough, and then we gotta find these bracket bolts. So I'm gonna need to go grab a 10, and I don't know if you can see it because I'm blocking the light. That's the power that goes to your alternator. You want to take that out. Kind of a weird angle, but just mess with it. Also, if you need to, you can gently bend the cord. Just make sure that doesn't snap, because then you're screwed. All right, let's look for these bracket bolts. It's going to be hard for you to see it, and obviously every car is different, but I think it's way up here. And it looks like a 12, so I'll go ahead and work on that. All right, so we have a problem with one of the brackets. I'm going to show you an old school trick, but do not do this unless you absolutely have to. Now, yeah, I can go get my ratchet, and I can keep messing around with extensions and whatnot, but I don't want to use that one especially. I'll keep messing with it. I'll show you guys. All right, after lifting the car, much better view. I got one more bolt, and then there's that other main connector we got to do. So I'll show you the trick on how I got the bolt. Don't do it at home. Do not try this at home. I am never held responsible, blah, 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 blah. All right, it's ready to come out. It's just that damn connector. I cannot get my fingertips to get it unplugged, so keep working on that and we'll slide it out. So a little dilemma, we're kind of stuck. I mean, I could remove the oil filter, but it's this tensioner bracket. We're gonna go have to take that out, and then I should be able to get it out. Oh, what a nightmare, dude. That's why I don't work on cars. I freaking hate this stuff now, dude. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and transfer stuff over. I mean, I can't tell if it's a rebuild already. We'll find out. Let's take a look. There's some identifiers here. Yeah, we won't know. So what you'll want to do is start transferring anything over. Again, every alternator, every job's going to be different. But yeah, dude, I'm telling you, this may be like the original 20-year-old alternator, so not bad. And then you can tell reman here, but like you notice there's the orange gasket for the switch there. You got to transfer that over there. So having a good look at the alternator, looks like everything's right. We'll go ahead and have to replug in all those things, but I'm gonna have to fit this bad boy in. Use the new hardware that they provided. You can put anti-seize on this if like you live in like salty conditions, or go through a lot of water and rust, but I don't care really. And then the trick I was doing with the wrenches, especially if you don't have a long wrench or an offset wrench. So let's say I have it on the 14, even though I don't think it needed a 14 at all today, but we needed it anyways. And again, do not try this at home. Wear your safety goggles. I release all responsibility, liability, blah, 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 blah. So this is on the bolt, right? You're gonna slip the open end on this. Well, actually it'll look better with a 12 on it. Slip the open end like that, and then it'll create another leverage point, another pivot point. But the problem is with certain wrenches, you'll break it there and then that piece will go flying right in your eye. So you can always create leverage doing stuff like that. It just acts like another fulcrum, right? But do not try that at home unless you know what you're doing. All right, let's get this guy in so I can get ready for another freaking week of work. Easier to kind of set it, putting it in than taking it out. Now I'm kind of worried. Let's see what I can do. All right, so the top's mounted. Now it's just putting everything back together. Don't forget your ground, your power, your switch. I moved that oil pressure switch thingy, so start putting all that, and then we got to do the tension in the belt again. All right, so dealing with the aftermarket stuff. The new nut that came with the alternator was a 13. Not a big deal, but the ground I had to go through the case because the original screw doesn't fit the new case from the new remanufactured alternator. So all these little hiccups when you do all this stuff, but everything should be ready to go. Let's start getting the tension ready and fire up. All right, the last bit is tightening the tensioner. Now, most new modern cars have automatic tensioners. This isn't a modern car. So we're gonna adjust this and we're gonna check the deflection. So as you tighten the tensioner, let's see if I get some light. As you tighten this guy, you'll see the belt. And then what a general rule is, from the longest distance, you'll want about 1/2 inch of deflection. So I'm gonna give it a little bit more, but I'm pretty much there. It's an older belt, maybe a couple years old. And that's how you like kind of stop that squealing and all that nonsense. But you can see, you don't want it too tight though. Remember, that'll snap your belt. Too loose, at least you can hear it. You know what I'm saying? With that, when you first start up. But this should be pretty good for now. I'll back it off just a little bit. Back it off a 10. That, and then you're good to go. And then you just tighten this down. All right. Don't forget your core. You're going to want to take this back in, get your 40 bucks back or however much it is. They go ahead and they rebuild them. Get ready for the next guy. And that's how you know your alternator's working. 14.3 volts. Definitely go test drive it though. Keep an eye on it. Keep an eye on the battery. Oh. Like I said, sometimes the battery gets so stressed out when the alternator doesn't work that you'll need a battery probably in like a couple of weeks, maybe even a week. But keep an eye on that guy. Drive it. Make sure your lights don't turn back on. You can also go back to AutoZone or O'Reilly's or whoever and have the charging system rechecked. But for now, this is good. The only time this lies is, let's say the alternator's charging, but the voltage regulator's jacked up, or it's just not sending the amperage back to the battery, the proper amount. So this will say it's charging even though it's not going to the battery. That's only on certain cars. Like I remember some of the Hondas would do that. It would say it's charging, but then it wasn't sending it to the battery. So you still have to replace the alternator because the voltage regulator was part of it. But yeah, dude, oh my God, I look like hell. Look like hell, and I went swimming in it. I hate working on cars. I'm sorry, guys. It's not what I do any longer, right? So appreciate you guys. I hope you learned something. I hope you maybe want to tackle your own alternator. Definitely do your research and make sure you get some good parts, and just go from there. But I appreciate your guys' time, and we'll catch you hopefully just walking around, chilling at the car show or interviewing people. Peace.